Welcome to the first video on how to create a successful postcard using Photoshop. So to get started, you want to come up here to the TC Guide template folder, open it up, and we're going to start with the front of the postcard. So double click on TC template front Photoshop file. Okay, so once the file opens up, the first thing you should do is come over here to the layers panel and deselect the border and instruction layers by clicking on the red eye icons. You'll then be left with something that looks like this. So as you can see, there are two main elements. We have a headline and a background image. So for your background image, we usually suggest using an in-use product shot if you have one. If you don't, then you can just use something a little bit more generic that makes sense with your brand. So to begin editing these elements, just come over here to the artwork folder, click it to select it, and press this little arrow. You'll then see the elements inside the folder. So for the background image, just click on it to select it and then press delete because you're going to want to upload your own image, of course. So come over here to File, Open, navigate on your computer to wherever your background image is. In this case, we're just going to use a TC front example. Open. And Photoshop will now open the background image in a new tab. So we're going to want to come over here to the layers panel again, click on the background image layer to select it, right click, and then press duplicate layer. And then right here under document, press the drop down and select TC template front, which is the name of the original tab that we were working in. Press OK. And then when we come over here, you'll see that Photoshop has moved the background image into the original document. So you're just going to want to click on the background image and then drag it down and just make sure it's below the headline layer. And that's going to ensure that the background image appears behind your headline. So once you have the background image inside of the document, you might want to make a few adjustments to it. If that's the case, just come up here and press this little arrow icon, and that'll select the background image. You can then drag it to anywhere that you like on the canvas. Okay. You can also resize the background image by pressing Control or Command T, holding down the Shift key and coming up to the corner, and you can then drag it to resize it without any major distortion occurring. Okay, so once you're happy with the placement of your background image, just come up here, select this little arrow button again, and Photoshop will ask you if you want to apply the transformation. You can press Apply. And you're now ready to start editing the headline. So to do that, come over here again to the headline layer, double click on the little T, and that will select the text. You can then change the text to anything that you like. You could put welcome, but for this example, we're just going to stick with a simple thank you. You can also edit the text further by selecting it and then coming up here. You can then change the font itself, you can change the size, the justification, and even the color. But we're just going to stick with white for this example because it's high contrast. So we'll select OK. Okay, so once you've done editing the text, you can just click here in this gray area to deselect the layer. One thing to keep in mind is that you want to make sure your headline is inside of these blue border guides. And that'll just ensure that your text doesn't get cut off during the trimming and printing process. So once you're happy with the placement of your background layer and the placement of your headline, you're now ready to save the file. So come up here, press File and Save, and that is going to save your file inside of the Photoshop template. And the reason that you want to do that is because if at any time in the future you want to make any changes, if you want to try and optimize your design to improve your conversion rate, you already have everything. You already have all of your work, so you don't have to start from scratch. Everything will be saved inside of the Photoshop template. You're also going to want to save the file as a JPEG so that you can upload it to the Touchcard app. So to do that, again, come up here to the file, click Save As, and then choose wherever you want to save the file. In our case, we're just going to save it in the TC Guide template folder again. You can rename the file if you like, and then come down here to Format, and you want to select JPEG, and then Save. Okay. And your file should now be saved on your computer as a JPEG, and it's ready to be uploaded into the Touchcard app. So as you can see, our file is inside the TC guide template folder, and it's right here, saved as a JPEG and ready to be uploaded into the Touchcard app. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, my email is in the description. Happy designing, and thank you very much for watching. Hi again, this is Jamie with Touchcard, and this is the second video on how to create a successful postcard using Photoshop. So again, you want to come up here to the TC Guide Templates folder and open it. And we're going to be working on the back of the postcard, so open up the TC Template back Photoshop file. Okay, once you open the file, you should see something like this. And the first thing you might notice is this big purple rectangle. And this big purple rectangle is where your customer's name and address information is going to appear when the card is printed. So it's important that when you're designing the postcard, none of your elements like your text or your discount box or your logo appear in this area. Otherwise, they'll end up getting printed over. So for now, I'm just going to turn off this guide by coming over here and selecting this guide folder and pressing the red eye icon. But you can turn it back on at any time while you're designing by just pressing the red box, and just to make sure that everything is placed correctly on the postcard and nothing is in this area. So I'm going to keep it off for now. You'll also notice that there are these blue guides around the border of the postcard, and those are very important as well because they represent the safe area. When you're designing, you also want to make sure that none of your elements go outside of these blue guides, and that's just going to ensure that none of your text or your logo or anything gets cut off during the trimming and printing process. So with that said, let's get started on the actual designing of the postcard. You'll notice that we have a few different elements. We have a short headline, we have a few lines of body copy, we have this discount box, and we also have a logo and a background image. So to get started editing these elements, you'll come over here to the artwork folder and press it once to select it, and then press this little arrow. And you'll see all of the elements inside of the folder. So we're going to start at the top with the heading text. So just double click on the T, and you'll notice the text is now selected. And you can change this to anything that you like. But for this demonstration, we're just going to stick with welcome and thanks. That's nice and concise. You can also edit the text further by selecting it and coming up here. You can then change the actual font, you can change the size, you can change the justification, and you can even change the color to anything that you want. But for this demonstration, we're just going to stick with black. So, okay. So once you're happy with the way the headline looks, the next element we're going to edit is the body text. So to edit the body text, come on over here to the body text layer and just double click on the little T, and you can see the body text is now selected, just like the headline text was. And of course, you can change this text to anything that you like, the same way that we edit the headline text. You can also come up here to make further adjustments. However, I'd suggest maybe sticking with something similar to what you see in this example, just because this layout is something that we know works. And it's essentially just 3 short sentences. The first sentence is just a lead-in from the headline, so it just says, welcome and thank you for ordering at Maggie's. The second sentence is a transition, and it also gives your customer a reason as to why you're offering them this discount. So it just says, to show our appreciation, here's a little gift on us. So in this case, you're just saying that to show our appreciation, we're going to offer you this discount towards your next purchase. And the last sentence is just your call to action, clear call to action. So use the code below to save 25% on your next order. And the benefit of taking action is bolded too. So there are a few things that you will definitely want to edit here, though. You'll definitely want to change this Maggie's. Obviously, you don't want it to say that. You want it to reference your own shop. And you might want to change the discount percentage to something else. Maybe you want to offer a lower amount, like 15%, but we'll stick with 25% for this demonstration. One thing I will say, though, is if you can, I highly recommend you offer a discount in the range of 15 to 25%, as our data suggests that that's what gets the best results. So once you're happy with your body text, the next thing we're going to edit or play with is this discount box here. And this is basically where you'll be able to place your automatically generated discount code and expiration date once you upload this design into the app. And this just puts a little bit more emphasis on that discount code and kind of draws your customers' eyes to where you want them to be. So to move that around or change that, just come over here to the coupon box, click it once to select it, and press this little arrow icon, and that'll select the coupon box. You can then move it around to anywhere that you want on the postcard. Obviously, you don't want to put it here because that's where your customer's name and address info will be. And if you're following this general guide, this general layout of the postcard, I would just suggest leaving it in the bottom left-hand corner because it's just a nice flow with everything else. So once you're happy with the placement of your discount box, the next thing we'll edit is the logo. So again, come over here to the logo layer, click it once to select it. And obviously you're not going to want to use this logo, you're going to want to use your own. So just press delete and that'll get rid of the example. You can then come over here, press File, Open, and find your own logo on your computer. In our case, we're going to use this one, Open. And Photoshop will now open that image in a new tab. So we have to just come over here to the Layers panel, select the layer. It should be the only layer in this window. Right-click on it and press Duplicate Layer. And then under Document here, we want to select TC Template Back because that's the name of the tab or the document that we're currently working in. Press OK. And if you come back over here to this tab, you'll notice that Photoshop has now duplicated the layer and your logo is right here. So just click on your logo and you can drag it to wherever you want it to be on the design. In this case, we're going to keep it in the top right-hand corner. And the final thing we need to now edit is the background image. So to edit the background image, just come on over here to the Layers panel again and select the background image by clicking it once. So when I do designs for our clients, oftentimes I'll just use the image from the front on the back as well, especially if it's a good product image. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second and how to make it look good. However, you can also just keep it simple. You can just have a plain white background if you want, and that'll look good too because we're using a dark text, so there'll be good contrast. And if you'd like to just use a plain white background, that's really simple. All you have to do is just come over here to the background layer and make sure it's selected by clicking on it once and press delete. And that will delete the image, the example image. And now you'll just have this transparent background. And when the file is saved as a JPEG and uploaded into the app, this background will actually be white. And when it prints, it'll be white too. So you have a nice white background with black text and there'll be good contrast and your customers will be able to read everything. So if you want to have the white background, you can just go ahead and file and save as a JPEG and go ahead and upload it into the app. If you'd like to use the image from the front of your postcard, or if you'd like to use any other image for that matter, I'll show you how to do that right now. Just come on up here to File and press Open. Find the image that you'd like to use. In this case, we'll use this one. Click on it, Open. And again, Photoshop opens it in a second tab or a third tab. So we have to come over here again to the Layers panel, select the layer by clicking on it, right-click, and then press Duplicate Layer. Again, under Document, we select TC Template Back because that's the document we're working in. Press OK. And if you come over here to our original tab, you'll notice that the background layer is now here in this document. And you can see the text and this discount box are on top of the layer. But for some reason, the logo is not. It's behind the layer. So that's very easy to fix. We just need to come over here again to the Layers panel, click on the background image layer, and then you want to make sure that this background image layer is at the bottom. It's below all of the other layers. So just drag it to the bottom and then release. And as you can see, the logo is now showing. It's now on top of the background image. So no matter where this appears, just click it and drag it and make sure it's at the very bottom. And that'll ensure that all of your elements appear on top of the background image. So once that's done, as you can see, we have everything placed where it's supposed to be, but it doesn't look very good. The contrast is obviously pretty bad here. You can see that the text is swimming into the color on the lens of the glasses. So to fix that, we just want to create a very light overlay. So to do that, you want to come over here to the Shapes tool and press it once, okay? And because we're creating a light overlay that contrasts well with dark text, you want to make sure that this color palette is white. So in our case, it already is, but if it's not, just press it once and then select white up here and OK. Okay, once that's done, you can just hold down the left mouse and drag to create a shape, or rectangle in this case. And your rectangle has to cover the entire canvas. So it can't be half or anything. It has to cover the entire canvas. It's okay if it's slightly larger, but it has to cover the entire canvas. So once that's done, just release the left mouse and you'll notice that we now have this white rectangle on our design. So if you come over here to the layers panel again, you'll see that the shape we just created is right here. So it's already in the right place. It's already below all of these elements, like our text and logo, and it's above the image layer, and that's where we want it to be. So for if any reason it doesn't appear here, if it appears at the top or something, just like before, you just click it and you can just drag it down and make sure it's below all of these elements, but above your background image. So right here, and then release. And it should just show as a white background for the time being. The next thing we need to do is we need to adjust the opacity on this shape that we just created so that we can actually see the background image. So to do that, just come over here to these opacity controls, and typically anything in the range of 70 to 80% works well, but you can play with it until you find a contrast that you like. But for this example, I'm just going to use 80%. And as you can see, it's now changed the transparency and you can actually see the background layer and it looks pretty good. And the contrast is good too. So you have this light background with this dark text. So once you're happy with everything, once you're happy with the contrast, once you're happy with the placement of everything, the next thing you need to do is just save the file. So to do that, come over here, press File, and Save. And that's going to allow you to save all of your work inside of the Photoshop template that we're using. And the reason that you should do that is so that if any time in the future you want to update your postcard, if you want to optimize the postcard to try and improve your conversion rate, maybe you want to come and change the percentage, the discount percentage, maybe you want to change the call to action. By saving it in the Photoshop file, you'll easily be able to open that file and make any changes very quickly because your work is already here. So you're not going to have to start from scratch again. So the next step after you've done that is to save as a JPEG file so you can upload the image into the Touchcard app. So in order to do that, just come up here to File and Save As. And you'll notice that, well, you want to save the file wherever you want to save it on your computer, but in this case, we're just going to save it in the TC Guide Templates folder. And you can, of course, change the file name if you wish. And one thing that you do have to do, though, is make sure that the format is set to JPEG. So just come down here to JPEG and click it, and then press Save. OK. And now you should have your design saved on your computer as a JPEG. So as you can see, we're in the TC Guide Templates folder, And this is the back side of our postcard, saved as a JPEG file and ready to be uploaded into the Touchcard app. So I hope that this video was helpful. If you need any further guidance or you have questions, my email's in the description. Happy designing, and thank you very much for watching this video.